also the situation of Tamil fishermen which arises from it. Now, maybe all of you may not be completely familiar with Katchatheevu, the whole problem. So let me first explain what the issue is, and then I want to tell you today what has really transpired, which has created the issue, and why that issue is today relevant to all of us. Why are we debating it today? In 1974, India and Sri Lanka, in June 1974, concluded an agreement where they drew their maritime boundary. And in drawing the maritime boundary, Katchatheevu was put on the Sri Lankan side of the boundary. This agreement of 1974 had three other clauses. One clause which said that each country shall have sovereignty and exclusive jurisdiction and control over the waters. The second clause, Article 5, it gave to Indian fishermen that they will continue to access Katchatheevu as hitherto and will not be required to obtain travel documents. And the third one, that the vessels of India and Sri Lanka will enjoy in each other's waters such rights that they have traditionally enjoyed. So this was the agreement which was reached in 1974 in June. Now, when this agreement was presented before Parliament, the then Foreign Minister, Sri Swaran Singh ji, he actually assured the Parliament, and I am reading his words, I feel confident that the agreement demarcating the maritime boundary in the Pork Bay will be considered as fair, just and equitable to both countries. At the same time, I wish to remind the honourable members that in concluding this agreement, the rights of fishing, please note, the rights of fishing, pilgrimage and navigation, which both sides have enjoyed in the past, have been fully safeguarded for the future. This was the assurance that the then Foreign Minister, Sri Swaran Singh ji, gave in Parliament at that time. 1974, July 23, 1974. Now, in less than 2 years, actually, there was another agreement between India and Sri Lanka through an exchange of letters. And in this agreement, now, India proposed the following. What has been the consequence of this? In the last 20 years, 6,184 Indian fishermen have been detained by Sri Lanka. 6,184. And in the same period, 1,175 fishing vessels, Indian fishing vessels, have been seized, detained, apprehended by the Sri Lankans. So this is really today the background. This is the issue that we are discussing. Now you can ask, why are we discussing it? And the answer is, in the last 5 years, in the Parliament, in the Consultative Committee, we have repeatedly, this issue, Katchatheevu issue and the fishermen's issue, has been repeatedly raised by various parties, by all parties, I would say. As I mentioned, in Parliament it has come up as Parliament question, it has come up in debates, it has been raised in the Consultative Committee, and in fact, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu has written to me numerous times, and my record shows that to the current Chief Minister, I have myself replied 21 times on this issue. So please understand, this is not an issue which has suddenly surfaced. This is a live issue. It is an issue which has been very much debated in Parliament, in Tamil Nadu circles as well. It has been the subject of correspondence between the Union government and the state government. And as I said, 21 times I have myself replied to letters. Now, every political party in Tamil Nadu has taken a position on this. And Here, one of the reasons why we are debating it is in looking at these two issues, the Katchatheevu issue and the fishermen issue, two parties, the Congress and the DMK, have approached this matter as though they have no responsibility for it, as though the situation is for central government, today's central government, for them to resolve. There is no history to this. This has just happened. They are the people who are taking up the cause. That is the way they would like to project it. We know who did this. How has the situation arisen? What we do not know is who hid this, who has been party to it, what has been concealed from the public, and we believe it is the right of the public today to know how did this situation come up. Why am I bringing it up? I am bringing it up today because fishermen are still being detained, boats are still being apprehended, issue is still being raised in Parliament. But it's being raised in Parliament by two parties who actually did it and say, oh, I had nothing to do with this. So I think the truth must come out. Looking at these two issues, the Katchatheevu issue and the fishermen issue, two parties, the Congress and the DMK, have approached this matter as though they have no responsibility for it, as though the situation is for central government, today's central government, for them to resolve. There is no history to this. This has just happened. They are the people who are taking up the cause. That is the way they would like to project it. So the purpose of the press conference today, why I am talking to all of you, is we believe that the public has a right to know. The public has a right to know how did this situation come about. How was Katchatheevu, how was the 1974 agreement reached? How was Katchatheevu given away? How was the fishing issue handled? Because please understand, the fishing issue actually emanated from a 1976 agreement. So there are two agreements we are talking about. So because these have been live issues, because they have been discussed earlier also in Parliament, two documents were sought from us as an RTI request. And these were provided. One was a document about Ministry of External Affairs, summary background note for the meeting of the Informal Consultative Committee in 1968 on this issue. And the second was a record of discussion of a meeting between the then Foreign Secretary and the then Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Honorable Kalaignar Karunanidhi, in June 1974. Main legal people, and please bear in mind, we are talking 1958 and 1960. The main people actually saying, look, we have a case, it may not be 100% case, we don't know where this case may go, but at least we should insist minimum that we should get fishing rights. And as I told you at the beginning, the island was also given away in 1974 and the fishing rights were also given away in 76. And whether in 74 itself was there any sincere effort to press for fishing rights, I think I'll leave it to you to conclude because 1976 shows otherwise. Now, if this is the situation, you will ask, how did this happen? Now, how did this happen has many aspects to it. One, and perhaps to me the most basic, I would say recurring one, is actually the indifference shown by the central government, by the prime ministers of the day then, about the territory of India. That fact is, they simply did not care. And to demonstrate that, I think if one looks at, again, this is there in one of the documents of the released under RTI. This is an observation by the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru in May of 1961. He says, he writes, I attach no importance at all to this little island, and I would have no hesitation in giving up our claim to it. I do not like matters like this pending indefinitely and being raised again and again in Parliament. So, to Pandit Nehru, this was a little island. It had no importance. He saw it as a nuisance. Why are people bringing it up again and again in Parliament? So, for him, the sooner you give it away, the better. Now, you can say, okay, this was Pandit Nehru's view. Now, I want to read to you. Actually, this was not just Pandit Nehru's view. This view continued on to Indira Gandhi ji as well. So, it's very interesting if one goes through the records of Parliament. We are now looking, I'm fast forwarding it to the time when Katchatheevu agreement is done. There is a member of Parliament called G. Vishwanathan from Tamil Nadu. And he says, this is I'm quoting from Parliament records, we are worried about Diego Garcia, thousands of miles away from Indian territory, but we are not worried about this small island. When we speak of it, the Prime Minister, he's talking about Indira Gandhi ji, the Prime Minister is said to have remarked in the AICC meeting that this is a little rock. I am reminded of those days when Pandit Nehru called about our northern boundary as a place where not a blade of grass grew. I would like to remind the Prime Minister that after this historic statement by Prime Minister Nehru, Pandit Nehru never regained the confidence of the country. This is going to happen to the Prime Minister when she says this is only a little rock and that there is nothing to worry about the territories of our country. So, as you can see, this is not just one Prime Minister, whether it was Pandit Nehru or whether it was Indira Gandhi. This very dismissive attitude, this little rock, this small island of no importance, this was the historic Congress attitude towards Katchatheevu. So, the fact is, we know today actually not just who did it, but also who hid it, who were all the parties who were responsible for the 1974 Katchatheevu agreement. Also, how the fishing rights were terminated in 1976. So, if we have today a situation, as I shared with all of you, that in the last 20 years, if 6,184 fishermen were detained, if 1,175 boats were detained, you all know who is responsible. So, for today, it is important for the public to know, it is important for the people to judge. This issue has actually been hidden too long from the gaze of the public. So, we believe today that, at a time when there are big debates and decisions going on in this country, that the full truth on Katchatheevu and on Tamil fishermen's activities and right of living should be placed before the public. That was the purpose for this press conference. I thank you for your attention in listening.
Subscribe to Oneindia channel and never miss an update.